everyone! I have a brand new video for you this week for Wild Whisper. I'm going to be playing with the stump stamp. If you haven't seen the stamp, it's a new release. It's in their shop. It's a huge stump. It's so cool. So I'm going to use it today, and I'm going to create a background for my travel page today. I'm going to use it to kind of help me create a grid layout. The next layout that I have to do for my Colorado album has 4 photos. And the photos can be kind of cut down quite a bit, so I thought I'd go ahead and stamp and emboss 4 of these stump stamps with burnt copper leaves embossing powder from Emerald Creek. And that way I can kind of like then layer stuff on top of those 4 stumps and have a background. So here you can see me, I stamped all 4 of the stumps using Ultra embossing powder. Now I'm using my Wagner heat tool, which is going to melt this embossing powder super fast because it's super hot. And I'm going to go ahead then and add some splatters to my layout. So I'm going to stamp it on top. I'm going to stamp it underneath. You have to keep moving it. Definitely just keep moving. And you can see that one of my stumps, when I stamped it and embossed it, for whatever reason, it was stamped off. And so I just left it go because, again, this is just going to be the background for some more layers on top. I'm going to go ahead then and I'm going to splatter the entire background with some Hot Fudge Vibes from Shimmers. That's just going to add a little bit more of a bit of a messy look, just a little more color, a little more interest to that background. And then once I have those splatters the way I like them, I'm going to set that background aside to dry thoroughly and completely. And then I also put it under a heavy bit for the night. I'm using the heat tool just a little bit under the paper just to dry it because it was quite warpy. And I knew I was going to have to place it under something heavy. It was getting late at night, and so I went ahead and kind of gave it a heat tool burst so that I could go ahead and leave it under some things to dry. Here is my finished background. You can see how the embossing gives it that shiny look. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to work with these patterns. Some of them are from the Where To Next collection. Some of them are from the masculine kit that I was using last week or 2 weeks ago because they work so well together and I just love them. I'm going to start by going ahead and cutting down all of these pictures. So these are pictures of specific landmarks and things that we saw while we were on the Royal Gorge railroad trip. And I really wanted to kind of zoom in a little bit on what these photos were actually pictures of, which means I can just crop them down quite well. So that's my plan. And then I'm going to take this pattern, which is one of the patterns from the masculine collection, and I'm going to fussy cut it a little bit. I'm going to cut 4 different colored frames to kind of layer behind the photos, or in some cases on top of the photos. And then these frames are going to hold my journaling and my title in different areas of the layout. I'm just going to match them up and then cut some more and then match them up. I ended up not liking the ones that were dark, and so I'm going to cut specific lighter colored ones so I can write on top of them. Now I'm going to take each of these photos. You can see here how I've matched up each photo with one of those little framed colored rectangles, and I really like how those turned out in the end with the finished page. I think it added just that little bit that you needed to so I could have a place for journaling. One of them is going to be the title. It worked really well. Now I want to mat the photos, but I just want to mat them a little bit. So I just want to put just a little bit of color behind each of these photos. Very easy. I'm just lining it up and just giving it a really small mat. I think most of I'm umming today, guys. I'm so sorry. I try really hard not to be that person, that umming person. So I apologize every time I do it because I can't. And the more, if I think about it, I do it more. Just so much worse. Ugh. Anyway, all right. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to mat all 4 of these photos. I'm going to give them a really thin border of color around them all. And then we can kind of start layering them up and adding our journaling and things. Okay, so now I am definitely going to go ahead and start on my title. I went through my thickers. I found one that was a good size to kind of go ahead and add my title to, and I'm going to create my title using 2 different letter stickers from my stash. While I kind of get these situated and on my layout, I am going to mention, if any of you are watching this and you are isolated or social distancing or quarantine because of coronavirus, stick around my channel because I am one of those high-risk people. And so my family, we are home, which means I am quarantine scrapping like a crazy person. And you are going to get a video every day, probably until we're out of the woods. So as long as schools are closed and all of that, I will have at least 1 new video for you every day. And in fact, Wednesday, I'm going to have 2 videos for you. I know that one's coming already. And I think Thursday I have 2 videos for you too. So there'll be lots of fun stuff going on in my channel. And I hope you will join me and comment, and let's have a little bit of like social interaction without making each other sick, right? Okay. And if you need more things, I'm leaving the classes on my website on sale. They're all 20% off. You don't need a special code or anything. And they're going to be that 20% off through the end of March. So if you are looking for something fun to do, if you need a little bit of a shot of inspiration, you want to learn a couple new techniques, anything like that, be sure to check out my classes. I have 3 of them out now. And with the way this is going and the way it's looking, I'm going to try to start working on a 3rd one while I'm in quarantine because, hey, why not? So I am going through all of my die cuts now. I'm deciding which ones I want to pair with which photo. I end up picking 1 die cut for each cluster, and then I'm going to ink them and put them up, or I'm going to ink them up and pop them up to give them just a little bit more emphasis or dimension on the page. I'm going to kind of audition a couple of them here. This orange one I don't end up using, and a couple others, but I'm going to kind of flip them out and decide which ones I want until I'm happy with the ones I've chosen, like the size of them and where they're placed. And so I really love the cameras. They turned out really good. I love that. I actually really am happy with all the die cuts I chose because I think that they fit in really well with my layout. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of color with some of these sequins. I don't believe this is the sequin mix that matches where to next. Like, I don't think it's the one that was created for it, but I love this sequin mix. And it has these beautiful orangey colors in them. And so I thought they would be perfect for just that little pop of sparkle and little pop of color. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of sprinkle like 5 around each of these areas. But this layout is a great example of how to get 4 pictures, journaling, information, and then also a design element. So we have those beautiful stamped stumps, and they're embossed. We added a little bit of mixed media with the ink splatters, and yeah, it just turned out really, really nice. I'm super happy with how this layout turned out. If you haven't grabbed that stump stamp, I highly recommend it because it's like so nice and big and awesome for a scrapbook layout. Here are all the close-ups. If you are interested in grabbing any of these products, you can play along with me. You can use my code DTSarah, and it will be down below. Oh, yes, that's right. Check it down below. It's typed down below correctly, but I always flip it when I say it, and I don't even know why. So thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so happy you're here. Be sure to leave a comment. Let me know what you guys are up to. And if anyone else is going to quarantine scrapbook with me for the next 2-3 weeks, that would be awesome. All right, see y'all again soon. Bye.